start your day with the stuff like you have to get done and like needs to be done, especially if you don't want to do it. He's like, get it done and then it'll be over. And I'm like, you're right.
When you started this stuff, what did your close friends and family have to say about it?
So my mom called me one day and she's like, oh my gosh, this nurse is making like $100,000 on OnlyFans. Like, that's so crazy, blah, blah, blah. Do you have an OnlyFans?
Yeah, so I guess we can get started with, just go ahead and introduce yourself and how you got started into OnlyFans.
So my name is Emma. I go by Emma Sirus. I technically started OnlyFans 4 years ago. Actually, August marked the 4-year mark. And it has been a very interesting journey. Like a lot of people, COVID came, I couldn't work, I didn't really know what to do, wanted to make some money, and I just kind of randomly heard about OnlyFans. At this point, I don't even remember who. I don't know if it's because it was kind of trending on social media or friends mentioned it. I do know my ex at the time, his ex had started OnlyFans. And I'm like, oh, someone like I kind of know is doing this. Like, I'm gonna try it. I don't think I actually started taking OnlyFans seriously till like 2022. And even then I wasn't as serious as I should be. I think this year is my most serious year. I've also made the most this year.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I saw you had, you had a degree, or I think a bachelor's degree for business, finance, and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I guess the question is, what do they even teach you with business finance?
I basically just did a lot of accounting classes. I did a lot of like business management classes where they kind of teach you how to manage people. They also teach you about how to make systems flow better. I had to do international business classes, so I had to learn how to interact with people in different countries and understand their cultures and how those kind of things work. And I took some social media classes for business, and that kind of helped.
What do they teach you for that? Like the social media? Because it seems like, things update and progress so quickly. It seems like if you had a standard curriculum or something, like it'd be irrelevant, months later.
So basically, we had to understand, which, at that time, how Instagram worked, how Facebook worked, how Twitter worked. And then from there, as we were always put into groups for like every business class. So as a group, we had to create a business, and then we would create our business. We'd have to understand all the things about our business. And then from there, we would have to create Facebook posts, and things that they would go into is like, okay, this is how you can get more engagement. Make sure you put something in the caption that gets people to want to comment, or, make sure you respond to people's comments, or if you're, about to sell a new product, make sure you post about it and tell them they can find it here. So kind of your very just generic social media stuff, which I mean, some of the stuff doesn't really work great now because like Instagram hates the go to my bio, or, certain, even just like having the link trees or other link apps. Social media is getting weird about those.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like there was anything that you kind of pulled that, anything that you learned from those business classes or the marketing classes or anything like that gave you any sort of edge or advantage when you sort of migrated into what you do now?
I think the biggest thing I kind of hold on to is just the type of, how to put it, work ethic. That's something they go into about, like, if you're running or owning your own business, you have to be very driven or your systems will fail. And so I had to listen to a lot of people talk about that. And I kind of took that with me because now that I'm not in college, the way I start my mornings is I'm putting on either motivational speakers on YouTube or people talking about like how to be more successful with your business. But, obviously it's a little more specific than that. But things like that, just you always have to learn more.
I mean, I love what you said about, because I've always kind of viewed, I think, waking up and listening to something positive or educational is kind of like underrated, because I view it like, if you're trying to get super fit physically, you have to obviously feed yourself the right food, you have to work out, you have to do all these things. But like, you know, on the mental side of things in business and marketing and all these things, it's literally exactly the same. Like the only way to, you know, build up the grit and the perseverance and all these things that it takes to win at these things, like feeding your brain that positive input, like every single day, first thing in the morning, like the healthy brain food, I call it, is like, you know, these positive podcasts or, you know, something that kind of helps you get into the right state of mind is like super underrated. I think, like, you know, a lot of people kind of don't look at it as something that's that important, which I think is super important. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah. And part of something that kind of helped switch my mindset into making it part of my morning routine is I don't know how long ago this was, but I saw a video, just some random creator, nothing to do with the OnlyFans community, posted about being ADHD and how she, as an older adult, you know, disciplines herself to get stuff done during the day and feel motivated. Because, you know, when you're doing OnlyFans, like, you are your boss, and if you want to make money, you got to work, and sometimes it's hard to feel motivated. So something she does just to get her normal daily tasks done is she doesn't allow herself to do the things she enjoys until she has gotten her work done, as a way to kind of trick her brain into like, okay, let's get this stuff done. So something that I used to do, I'm very anime obsessed. It's all I watch. Like, that's it. I watch it a lot, especially since I work for myself. I don't have a lot of free time, but I have plenty of time to have my phone or TV running in the background. So always anime. And I used to start my mornings with watching anime, but then I wouldn't want to stop watching to go do work because that sucks. Like, who really wants to switch from doing something they enjoy to like, let's go get work done? So I told myself, I'm like, wow, like, she's really smart. Let me save that enjoyment for later in the day, and I should do something else, which I still want something playing while I'm doing my makeup or getting ready, whatever. And then I'm like, you know what? Why don't I just like start doing things that are either going to educate me or motivate me? So it used to be just basic social media coaches, like those kind of people. I would listen to them, and then I got more into like OnlyFans creators, and then other just business creators. And so now it's just a whole mix. It's kind of how I found you, is I was just kind of looking for some new OF advice to listen to, and y'all popped up, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And I think at this point I've seen every podcast episode on this channel.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, just because I don't know, there's always something to learn, and I got to get ready every day. So there's a lot of days in a year to listen to new people talk about stuff.
Yeah,
and I've also found too, because I'm sure like a lot of creators, I go through a lot of time periods where I don't feel motivated. I don't feel inspired. I feel like my content sucks, like the typical things. Yeah. And so a while ago, like a great one for me was when Marie D was becoming popular last year, and she was, doing her creator stuff advice more and just explaining her journey. I loved watching people like that, because she'd be like, all right, I'm posting on this many Instas, this many TikToks, this many, this. And if you don't do this, it's going to be hard for you to grow. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I got to get out there and I got to work. And so I like starting my day with motivation, because I am not a huge fan of my own content. Like I am my own worst enemy for sure. I
hear that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Cierra's always having that internal
I'm super hard
battle,
on myself.
Like nobody likes this. I'm just gonna not post anything because nobody wants to see it anyway. And I'm like, just post it. Like, there's nothing to lose by just putting it out there. You're gonna get some new eyeballs on your stuff, and that's just how. But yeah, I think that's like super common for everybody. So one of my kind of like favorite productivity hacks, I guess, is like kind of similar to what you're saying, is I'll kind of like schedule out my day, and then I'll look at the things that I absolutely despise doing. Like I don't want to fucking do it at all. And I'll make sure that I put those at the very beginning of my day. Like before I do anything, I'll put like the worst things at the front, because that's when you generally have the highest capacity mentally to like get through those miserable things first. And then like, as the day progresses and you start to lose that, mental strength, then the tasks become easier. And it's like, the things that are a little bit more enjoyable, you put those towards the end, because by the time you get there, it doesn't take that much mental bandwidth to kind of do that stuff. So that's kind of my, a different way of saying the same thing of what you just said. But yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying.
So I actually just heard about something similar to that. Oh, it was Alex Hormozy, if that's how you say his last name. And he had mentioned in one of his videos, because he was responding to a comment, and he had said, he's like, start your day with the stuff like you have to get done and like needs to be done. He's like, that's, especially if you don't want to do it, he's like, get it done, just do it, and then it'll be over. And I'm like, you're right, I should start my day like that, just get stuff done first. And one of the ways I try to do my schedule now is I try to have like themed days. So like, all right, today's going to be a YouTube day for this channel, and I'm just going to film a bunch for this channel or for that channel, or it's an Instagram day, or it's a customs day, because I do crazy amount of customs. So I try, because I feel like when I can structure my days of like, okay, this is the theme of the day, I feel like I get the most done. Where if I just have a day where I'm like, oh shit, like I got to film this YouTube video because I'm behind, but I also got to do these customs, and I also got to post on Instagram, and then I just feel chaotic and I start to shut down, and I'm like, just fuck it all. I don't need money. Like, I don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
What would be your best advice for someone who's transitioning from the chaos life to the structured life? Like, how do you go into the mindset of like building those habits?
I guess if I have to look back on how I've done it, so it's almost like forming any habit. Like, you could be someone who's, living a really unhealthy lifestyle, and then you want to be healthy, and they always recommend pick one thing and do that a little bit, and then do your next, and then slowly add it on, because if you try to do everything at once, it's really hard. So I think for me, trying to be a better business owner and content creator, I've just kind of slowly learned things to add. So really just whatever you think would be the easiest for you. If it's just the night before, if you could sit down for 5 minutes and be like, okay, I kind of need to film for Instagram because I don't have any content for that. So I think tomorrow I'll do Instagram, or I'll do YouTube, or I'll film for Onlyfans, or like that could be a really easy thing to do, is just kind of planning out tomorrow. Because sometimes I have great time periods where I am planning out my weeks, like, all right, this is the structure of the month. And then sometimes like I have my shit show times, and I'm just like, if I could just plan tomorrow. So I think if you could just start with planning tomorrow and then do the same thing the next day, like just start that way. And then really, I don't know, the only thing that's kept me going is just listening to more podcast and motivational people, and just education, just things that are going to push you in that direction. Because I think the more you're thinking about it, the easier it is to implement it, just because it's going through your brain so much that it kind of just happens. So yeah.
Well, and it kind of, that goes into kind of the idea of like, you are the sum of the people you surround yourself with, or whatever. And so if you're listening to the Hormozis and this, that, whoever inspires you and is already winning the game you are playing, then I feel like that helps me a lot. Like just imagining myself sitting in like the winning circle already.
And so what would you, because Cierra kind of like, she'll like you mentioned, like she'll go into these phases where she's like really structured, and you and you do get a ton of stuff done when you're in those phases, but then you kind of like relapse into chaos. So what would you say your strategy is, or like how you kind of like get yourself into those phases?
I think my strategy, it's a full like front to back overhauling of my lifestyle, like what I'm eating, drinking enough water, am I moving my body, what am I doing for my mental health, blah, blah, blah. And those all hold hands with each other. And if all the chains aren't linked, then, it's not going to work as well as I want it to. But when I'm on point with everything, then I'm like A+. And then I feel great. I get a lot accomplished. And then I'm like excited to stay in the behaviors.
Well, your biggest thing is like making sure that you do your workout in the morning, because then that like sets in motion the rest of the habits.
Mine is largely based off of my physical movement and my mental health. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's a super, because we haven't really talked about that a ton on the podcast, but I think that's like, it's one of my favorite subjects, is like just all these little productivity hacks and stuff like that. So you, on the little survey, you mentioned you were 1% at the time you filled that out. Has that gone up or down since then? Stayed the same?
Both. So I think when I found you, I was like 1.1, and then I signed up. I was solid 1%, and then I'd made my way to like 0.97, and now I'm back to 1.2, which there's a reason. My YouTube channel got deleted.
Oh no.
So yeah, but I'm hoping, because I just did this massive content trip, I'm hoping that'll help bring me back up, and then working on other YouTube things to bring myself back. I didn't realize how bad getting deleted on YouTube could be, because now all my other non-adult related channels, they're making it very difficult to be verified on those because I had a channel deleted. So
oh no.
Yay.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we've talked about. I think, we kind of went into it. I don't know if you know Mia from the group, or, she was the one that used to have that other kind of OnlyFans education channel. And she got into the try-on hauls and was doing all that stuff. And then they took out her try-on channel, and then they took out her creator channel too. And it's like, once YouTube gets you for one, they started getting you for all of them. And so, that was a super bummer to see that happen to Mia, because she put in a ton of work for a long time, kind of started the same way that my YouTube channel started, just documenting what she was doing and stuff like that. And YouTube's brutal. They'll come after everything.
By the way, if you're feeling stuck with your progress on OnlyFans, there is no better place to be than the OnlyFans Level Up community. The Level Up community is a private group on Telegram where you can network with all kinds of amazing creators, many of which have been featured on this podcast. Over the years, I've documented with step-by-step video modules the best systems, the best tools, the best strategies used by the highest earning creators. Regardless of your skill level, it's a great place to meet other creators and see all of the best secrets that you can't find on Reddit or YouTube. The link for that will be down in the description below, but for now, back to the podcast.
Yeah, so I'm curious. I want to rewind a bit here because there's another thing I was curious about. You mentioned that, so you started OnlyFans about 4 years ago, and then at some point you kind of transitioned into mainstream adult. And so I'm curious about that journey, that progression. So let's rewind about 4 years ago when you started. Tell us about how you kind of transitioned from OnlyFans to mainstream adult and how all that kind of went.
So it's funny because I didn't really transition from OnlyFans to adult. I'm now transitioning from adult to OnlyFans. So I did technically start OnlyFans August of 2020. I was signed with an adult agency by December of 2020. Because I didn't really know what I was doing with OnlyFans. I made $1,000 my first month, and then I averaged like 200 something a month after that because I just had no clue what I was doing. But and this is such a crazy story, but I love to read, and I had read a book about how this guy got into porn and the steps he took, and I had just started OnlyFans, and I'm like, I wonder what would happen if I took all those steps. Like literally, it was just like out of curiosity, let me try this. So I did all the things that this book character did. And I started getting reached out by professional companies. And so I didn't know what I was doing. Me and my ex drove down to, like, I had never traveled. Like, I was poor growing up. So, like, I had never traveled, never done anything. And I just looked at him and I'm like, hey, you want to ride with me to Georgia? We're going to meet these people in a hotel and film a video. But the money was just crazy to me at the time. I'm like, oh my God, like they want to pay me $1,200 to just go film a video. And I'm like, fuck it. Like, let's go. So we drove down there. That's how I came. I had got my stage name that day because they're like, yeah, what do you want to go by? And I'm like, because at the time on OnlyFans, I just had like a username, kind of like with like a gamer tag almost. That's because I didn't know like you needed a name. I didn't know anything. I went into this with no research. So you know, me and my ex spitballed some names for a second. I know I came up with Sirus. It just kind of popped out at random. I think he came up with Emma. And so I'm like, all right, Emma Sirus, cool. All right, let's go film. And then after that, I got reached out to by another company. And then I made way more from that person. And I'm like, I just want to do this all the time. Like, and he's like, oh, I can get you with an agency. And I'm like, cool. So I went to Florida, got signed with my first agency, filmed like crazy in and out of Florida. Like I was driving down almost every month for at least 6 months, just filming. And like, it was great. It was great till it wasn't great. I basically got ghosted by my agent in LA.
Oh no. But
now I wish I would have taken OnlyFans more seriously years ago. Instead, because there is a lot of bullshit in mainstream porn.
Well, yeah, we've heard that quite a bit, in terms of just like some of the nightmare stuff you have to deal with in the mainstream industry. But I'm curious, when you mention there is stuff, you know, bullshit you have to deal with, like what specifically would it be?
I guess there's a million things. One, dealing with agents. Some agents, I guess, are better than others. But there's always things. I kind of had a rule of I didn't want to have to sleep with my agent in any context to get work, and that has been a big pain in the ass of an issue. Also, you'll have some filming is so fun. There are some companies where I would still love to go film for just because the scripts are fun, the people I get to work with, like we have a great time. But then there's some days where you're there for 8 hours and the rate is still the same. The rate is the same, but you are on set all day. You're hungry. Like you get to a point where it's like, I don't want to do this anymore. I mean, I guess technically you could leave, but it caused problems. But you're kind of just stuck dealing with it. And sometimes you get a script. Like I've had scripts where I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. Like this is like an uncomfortable script. Did it anyway. You kind of just get thrown into situations. Like your agent will just send you an email like, all right, you're working for this company on this date. Here's the pay. Show up. And then you show up and then you're like, oh, I have to do this today. Like,
damn.
I don't know. There's so many things. Like I'm sure I could think of a million more random things, but it's just like, the mainstream industry is cool if you're working with the right people, but there's a big 50-50. You're going to have some good days and you're going to have some days where you want to quit. And I've had many days where I'm like, I'm about to walk out this bitch.
Yeah, I can definitely see how that would get shitty after a while. Just kind of being the dancing puppet for an organization like that would get super exhausting and tiring.
Yeah.
So,
and I think, and what it comes down to, it just depends on how much money you make outside of the industry. So if you're a girl who doesn't have a big OnlyFans yet, the money sounds amazing when you're doing it, because you're like, yeah, like I'm making a couple grand from this, like this is great. But then like now that my OnlyFans is bigger, I'm like I don't I mean, yeah, I'll go do a couple scenes if I know they'll be fun, but like I don't want to do it full time.
Well, yeah, and so in mainstream it's like a one-time payment, right? And you don't get like royalties off of these videos that are just forever on the internet, whereas like OnlyFans, you can make money off of your video for your entire life.
Yes, and that's
that would be really hard to argue against.
Yeah, and so many creators or like so many talents when I first started years ago would tell me, they're like, make sure you film content, keep your content, like content's forever, like you can make money off of that. And I mean, it's true. Like I have videos and I had my boobs done this year and I still sell my old videos. Like I don't care. Yeah. Like it's still content. And I have some guys who prefer the old look anyway. So I'm like, if I can still sell it, might as well.
Heck yeah.
Hell yeah. I mean, I don't know where that stuff's getting posted, but do they let you use, like, if it's on Pornhub or whatever, can you use that to like promote your OnlyFans and stuff?
So technically any photo, video, whatever they own, so you don't, but it depends on the company. So some companies are really cool and they'll send you your pretty girls. They'll be like, yeah, you can post these pictures on Instagram, Twitter, just tag us. It depends on the company on if you want to post the photos, because some are more safe for work than others in the photo sets. You can't really promote towards your OnlyFans with their content, but I will say on Pornhub specifically, if you have a porn star account, well, I mean, they don't really call it, they're all model accounts now, but if you're labeled as a porn star in the Pornhub system, which you have to get verified to do, anytime a company posts a video with you in it and they tag you as the porn star, your ranking can go up because the views on those videos count towards your views. Like you don't get the earnings from those views, but your little, I don't know if you've ever looked at a model account on Pornhub, but at the top of their page, it'll say like 10 million views and this many subscribers. Those views are coming from the other company's stuff. So your ranking can actually go up. You could never post a video on Pornhub, but if you filmed a lot of professional scenes that have been posted, you could actually have a really high porn star ranking from those companies.
Interesting. So, okay. So when you kind of got into all this stuff, well, first of all, when you started this stuff, what did your close friends and family have to say about it? Were they some are pretty resistant and others are not so, they don't mind?
My friends at the time were like, that's super cool. My ex was fine with it until he wasn't fine with it. So we separated, but it wasn't a bad breakup. Like I knew it was coming just because like in the beginning he was super supportive, which was great, but then it turned into the comparing. He'd be like, oh, well, you're working with these guys. Like, do you like these guys better than me? And I'm like, no. My dad found out my Instagram popped up on his page as a recommended friend, even though I tell Instagram all the time to not sync contacts.
Yeah.
I swear to God, it still does. It'll be turned off in the settings and it'll still like recommend people to me that I know personally. And I'm like, stop, like, don't do this. Yeah. And so my dad called me up one day and he's like, so who's Emma? And I'm like, oh,
no.
Where'd you find out? Like that was the first thing. It's just like, where'd you see it? And he's like, well, I saw your Instagram and I saw you had a link tree. and I briefly saw the links, and that's when I had my Pornhub attached to my link tree. Like cause I was going heavy with porn. So I'm like, all those things are on there. So he was just kind of like, I can't tell you what you can and can't do. You're an adult. Just please be safe, make good decisions. And I was like, please don't tell mom, because my mom's crazy. So I'm like, don't tell mom. And he's like, I'm not telling your mom. So my mom found out. So I do the Exoticas. I don't know if you guys have heard of those. Okay, so basically it's an adult convention. They're really fun. Well, my mother by this point, because I was traveling so much, was requiring how old? I was 22 years old. My mother required to have my location because I was traveling so much. She's like, I have to be able to see your location because I want to make sure you're not getting kidnapped or dying. And so I drove up to Jersey to go to this convention. And my mom knew I was going to a convention, but that was it. She saw what convention center I was at, Googled what convention was going on. The website's pretty out there about who's attending because it's a lot of porn stars and cam girls are what you're getting at this convention. So I don't think my mom knew everything at that point. But she got introduced to it, and so she was a little shocked by it. And then one day, because my mom's a nurse, and you know how there's like a lot of nurses who've gone viral, like, oh my god, nurse makes X amount of money on OnlyFans. So my mom called me one day, and she's like, oh my gosh, this nurse is making like $100,000 on OnlyFans. Like, that's so crazy. Blah blah blah. Do you have an OnlyFans? And it's like, do you really want me to answer that? She's like, never mind. And like, but now my parents know everything.
So what made you, like, with all these different things, you had your, 1 foot in OnlyFans and 1 foot in mainstream and one hand in modeling and all these different things. What kind of was the revelation to where you're like, all right, OnlyFans is like the thing that I need to put most of my effort into?
So my past relationship of 3 years, he didn't want me doing mainstream anymore. And so I'm like, all right, if you don't want me doing mainstream, we got to do OnlyFans. So for the past couple years, I've been trying really hard to like build up OnlyFans, but I just wasn't quite, there's some key things I was missing, but I was like learning and I was trying. And I would meet so many people who were like, yeah, like there's so much money to make, just post on social media. And I was never the best about posting on social media. Like I could have posted more. Like there was always more I could have done, but I was also in a relationship where he didn't even like it. He didn't like any of it. And then he broke up with me. I came home from AVN this year in January and he broke up with me. And he's like, I can't do it anymore. He's like, I can't even do the OnlyFans anymore. He's like, I hate all of it. I can't do this. And then was like, all right, like I went through a depressed phase. And then I'm like, okay, I have got to get my shit together. So I think him leaving me like was the thing that really pushed, because so many people can make money with it. Why can't I? So I just started going ham, trying different things with social media, and because I knew it was possible. It was just doing it. And so yeah, that was my motivation of like, I don't got anything else to do, don't have a partner, like let's just work. And so all I do is work. But it's working out though.
Yeah. I have to just say I'm so grateful for you. Obviously we work in this industry together, but I'm so lucky to have like a partner that's, linked arms with me in this. And I always feel for the girls that are like, a story like yours, like, oh my God, I just wasn't into it. And they either have to quit or the relationship ends or it's just really tumultuous or whatever. And that sucks. That's hard. But I mean, it sounds like it's hopefully it sounds like it's nudged you in the right direction with your business anyways, or like freed up that space where you just feel completely free to build your business how you need to,
Yeah.
Well, we were talking a while back when, I don't know if you saw the episode, I think it was pretty long ago now with Dainty Rascal on there.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and she was kind of talking about that too, where she got, she ended up getting a divorce, and then it felt like a weight had been like lifted off her, and she could finally just like do all the stuff that she had been wanting to do for so long or whatever. Is that what it felt like for you, or was it different?
I wouldn't say it was a weight off, because this was the man I wanted to be with forever, and I wanted him. Like, he was, the stepdad to my child. Like, I really wanted to be with this person. So him leaving was really hard, but it was for the best, though, because like at the end of the day, like, we're much better as friends than we are as partners. Like, that is what it is, and it sucks, but it is what it is. So because of that heartbreak, and I don't have a lot of like, based on my social media, you would like, or well, I guess depending on what you see, like, I seem like a really happy-go-lucky, like, energetic person, but in reality, I am a loser. I don't have a lot of friends. I don't go out a lot. Like, I'm a major homebody, except for when I'm working. Like, my work is the only thing that gets me out of the house. So because of not having anyone to put my time into, I put that time into my business, and I just use my business as a way to keep me distracted from my personal life.
Yeah, I think that's super common for most, because like everyone has to sort of play a certain persona on social media, but it's basically like every single person we talk to, it's the same thing. Like, everybody's kind of just on their own lonely little island where we're all like,
us included.
Yeah, like we're super the same way. Like, we don't really, we're just in our own little bubble over here. So you kind of got into like super grind mode and started just trying all these different things. What would you say? I think I know what you're going to say already, but as of right now, what would you say would be like the most powerful marketing platform, app, strategy? What should people be focusing on for marketing?
Well, I guess it depends on what content style you're comfortable with, but for me, YouTube has done the best. Part of it was just the try on hauls, because guys seem to really like those. Now I had 3 try on channels. One got deleted. That was
I saw one you're like posting on it every single day.
Kinda.
At least recently.
So it depends on which one you saw. If you saw my Emma Sirus fashion, that's my
I saw one that's like, one's a little more safe for work, and then the other one's not so much. But that one, it seemed like you were posting on almost every day. Yeah,
so I had my Emma Sirus fashion, which was a little safer with the try on hauls, because I'm monetized, and I like having that channel. So if I like try to branch out more with brand deals and stuff, like, I have it. And then when other girls, which, I mean, like Alana Cole, like all, like so many other girls many months ago were going crazy with the try on hauls, I'm like, fuck it. So I made a separate channel. I was doing those kinds of transparent try on hauls. When I got deleted, I was like 126,000, 127,000, and my channel was like 2 months old.
Damn.
Wow.
That's crazy.
I think part of why YouTube does great, though, is because it's a really easy way to show your personality, and I feel like it's easier for me to show my personality in the longer form content where I can chat, where with like TikTok and Insta, you've got to be like snappy if you're doing any talking style content, because if it's dragging, it's not going to get good engagement. And I haven't practiced enough being snappy with the short form. So I just feel like people connect with me better on the long form.
That's awesome. So, all right, so let's get into like your actual, what you're doing in your OnlyFans account. As of right now, what would you say is like your biggest money driver between, customs or mass messages or whatever you're doing? What would you say is the best right now?
I don't know, like my pay-per-views are doing better now that I have more subscribers, but those are kind of hit or miss. It's just kind of just like random ones will just do really well. I do sell, especially when I'm going heavy with promoting them, like I sell a lot of customs. I don't know. I get so many custom requests. And what's funny is I went through a time period where I was filming nonstop try on haul custom requests, which was
Wow.
great because I would rather do I mean, not saying I wouldn't do a solo, but I would rather do a try on haul custom request than a solo. But I will say part of why my customs do well is because I'm a talker and I like, even if you're like, it doesn't matter what type of content you're getting, unless you specifically say like, I want an ignoring video, show me your feet and don't talk. All right, cool. I can do that. Like, I won't talk. But with my customs, like I'll sit there and like, I'll look into the camera and I'll describe every single thing that we could do together while doing the motions. And, you know, like I really can get into it.
Awesome. So, okay. So you're more of like, cause yeah, like you said, I mean, there's some of the strategy is like a few custom, but very high price point. And then others are more, you know, volume. So you're on more of the kind of volume camp. So for you, like what is the average price of a custom? Like 20 bucks, 30, 50?
Oh, well, more than that for sure. But, so my business partner told me I gotta change this, but I charge per minute. In most low end, I mean, every once in a while, like I'll do a 10-minute if they want something just so basic with no effort. But I'd say between $12 and $25 a minute. Most are you're looking at 15 to 17. Like my average is $15 to $17 a minute. Depending on what it is, I do require a minimum. So 3 to 4 minute minimum, depending on what they want. If they want a solo, 3-minute minimum's pushing it, unless they want something just so specific that I can do in 3 minutes. Try on hauls, minimum 5, usually 10 minutes is what they want. So most customs, I'm earning between $60 to $150, sometimes $250. I mean, I had a custom all the way up to almost $1,000. It just depends on how. That was like a 30-minute video. It was really cool, but it's a long video. Editing, like sometimes depending on what they want to, especially my guys who buy a lot of customs and they do want specific things that they pay, like, and they'll pay for them. Like I'll get into the editing, you know, I'll be in this part of my house doing this, and then I'll be in this part of my house doing that. It's like a little movie. But yeah, so I don't know. I know some girls will charge minimum like $100 for a custom or more. But yeah, so 50 plus for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense if you're taking the volume approach to obviously have the lower price point like that. Do you have like a standard operating procedure, because it sounds like your customers have like you have a few things that you know they're going to want every single time. Do you have like almost like a production flow, like, all right, I know I'm going to get these, these types of requests. Here's how many I'm going to get. And then you built like a procedure to just like knock them out super quickly? Or like, how does your actual, process work for that?
So I kind of have a flow for it. So usually I try, like I said, I'm not always the best about pre-scheduling my week, but I try to have a general idea of what I'm doing on certain days. And so if I want to do more customs, I'll put out there and just be like, hey, on Tuesday, I'm going to be filming customs for this week. So what would you like? Or if I just happen to get a lot of custom requests at this, like within a short time period, I'll be like, all right, I'll have this done for you on Thursday. I actually get customs done pretty quickly. Most people are waiting 2 to 3 days. Unless you happen to hit me right before the weekend and the kid's home, then you got to wait a little longer. But it's always less than a week unless I'm traveling. So yeah, I usually pick a day and I'm like, all right, guys, I'll have these done on Tuesday. And then I have a list in my phone because I had to be organized with my customs. I was getting too many. I used to just do like a screenshot method where they'd like tell me what they want and I'd screenshot it. I get too many for that now. So I have an actual list in my phone where I put their name, how long, something brief like JOI. So 5-minute JOI, $60. Well, you know, just whatever. Like I'll put that and I'll list it out. And then when it's the day of filming, I will look at all the customs and I'll write them. I'll actually pull out my notebook and I'll start with the shortest ones first. Just not that I don't want to do the long ones, but I'm like, you know what? Let me just knock out these short ones and then I'll do the long ones. But I also will organize, like, if there's multiple solos and then other things, I try to separate my solos, just to give, like, you know, down there a moment. And then, yeah, I just dedicate my day to those. And now I have 2 phones now. So I'll film on one, start uploading, film on the other, start uploading on that one, switch to the other one. So it's just so much faster. I can get them done so much faster now that I can
really
flip flop phones.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. So yeah, I'll have your safe for work YouTube down in the description, your Instagram and stuff like that. So what are, you know, moving forward, what's kind of the next steps for you from here?
From here basically is just posting on all my platforms almost every day, because that's something I've been really bad about. So from here on out, I'm trying to post on those every single day, bring more people in to the funnel. Plus I'm gonna build some more safer work content, get some extra revenues coming in, and yeah, that's kind of the immediate future goals.
Cool. And then last question is, what is your biggest dream?
I don't know. There's so many. I guess. Oh, I don't know if I have like the biggest dream, but right now it's just getting myself and my little one into our own house. And I want to get a house that's big enough to have my own like production area, so I can really go heavier with the filming. So that's the big goal. And then eventually, you know, be able to afford to retire early. Not actually retire early, because I'll do other things, but be able to afford to retire early.